Welcome to another episode of Sunday School to Go. I'm Pastor Katie Jans from St. Peter's Lutheran Church in Verona, New York. Now this episode of Sunday School to Go, this is number 4 in our to be continued series, I suppose, of episodes for Holy Week. And these are for the month of March, and these episodes are meant to all be watched one after the other. It's a whole to be continued thing and a whole story all together. So unlike our other months, it's important that you watch them and watch them in order if you can, just so the story makes sense. And if you haven't already watched parts 1, 2, and 3, I would suggest you go back and watch those first and then come and watch episode 4. This episode is about, all of these are about Holy Week, which is a very, very important time in the Christian calendar. And today's episode is about Good Friday. Good Friday is one of those days that kind of has a weird name because it is also the day when we remember the day that Jesus died on the cross. And that was not a good experience. We call it good, but it would not have felt very good for anybody that day. So it's a really sad story and a hard story, but it's really important. So we're going to read this together. Okay. And this is kind of two stories in here, 2 short ones we're going to put together. This is from the Spark Story Bible that we're going to read this, published by Spark House Press, also known as Augsburg Fortress. Here we go. The priests were mad at Jesus and wanted to get rid of him. "What will happen to us if the people follow Jesus?" they grumbled. So they made a plan. "Let's take Jesus to the governor, Pontius Pilate. He can get rid of Jesus." They were afraid that all the people were going to follow Jesus. When Pontius Pilate saw Jesus, he asked, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus didn't answer. Pilate thought that kings ruled over countries and people. Jesus knew that his power was about loving God. Jesus' kingdom was not the same. Pilate was frustrated. Some people wanted to kill Jesus, but Pilate didn't think Jesus had done anything wrong. Pilate didn't want any trouble, so he handed Jesus over to the people. The priests smiled. Soon Jesus would be gone. Jesus knew that he would die, but that would not be the end of the story. Jesus also knew God's plan. Let's see a picture of how that might have looked. It was a very sad day. It kind of skips a little bit there, but even though, Pilate handed Jesus over to the people, and long story short, they got Pilate to say that Jesus was guilty of a crime that he didn't commit. Right? They made up something. They made up things that Jesus had done, and so he was sentenced to death. So this is about the day that Jesus died. It was a very sad day when Jesus died. The soldiers who had arrested Jesus teased him for pretending to be a king. They took his clothes and put a king's purple cloak on him. They made a crown of vines with sharp thorns and put it on Jesus' head. Ouch! The soldiers made Jesus carry a heavy wooden cross. The cross was too heavy for him. Jesus fell and skinned his knees, and the cross tumbled to the ground. A man in the crowd carried the cross the rest of the way. See what that might have looked like. The soldiers nailed Jesus' hands and feet to the cross. They raised Jesus' cross up on a hill between two other men. The other men were thieves, and they were being crucified too. One of the men was angry with Jesus. "If you are a powerful king, can't you save yourself? Why don't you save us too?" The man spat at Jesus. But the other thief believed in Jesus. He shouted back, "Don't you know who this is? This is God's Son. He hasn't done anything wrong. We are being punished for our mistakes, but Jesus shouldn't be here." The man turned to Jesus and asked, "Will you take me to heaven with you?" Jesus looked at the man and loved him. Jesus told him, "Yes, today we will be in heaven together." After a while, the world grew very dark, as if a terrible thunderstorm was coming. It was as if all creation was crying because Jesus was about to die. Jesus was feeling all alone and prayed to see if God was still there. Of course, God never left Jesus. God was with him the whole time. Jesus looked at the crowd. He was so sad that people didn't believe that he was God's son. He asked God to forgive them for killing him. The soldiers offered him some sour wine, but he didn't want to drink it. He was ready to die. Finally, Jesus had fought for long enough. He said, "God, the work you gave me to do here is finished." He breathed a final, long, slow breath, and then he died. I know it's very sad. It's a very sad story. You do have an activity in your activity bag to go with this story, and it looks like this, and it is actually a crown of thorns that you can kind of weave together. It's got directions on how to do that, and I think it can go on this as sort of a sign, as sort kind of something else for you to hang on your wall. And as you're doing that, you can think about what it might have looked like to be there. I know it makes it even more sad, but you can think about the story and think about, I guess, just how much love there is in that story. Jesus loved that other guy on the cross. Jesus loved the people who were there, and Jesus loves all of us too. And even when this was happening to him, he still was full of love. So you can think about that too. All right, I want to be very clear. This is not the end of Jesus' story. The next part is even better. So make sure to tune in next time for our next episode of Sunday School to Go. Bye, everybody.